Good afternoon, folks. It is Bridget here from Bridget's Healthy Kitchen, the home of healthy, delicious, wishing you a wonderful day wherever you are in the world and whatever it is you may be doing. I hope you are well and I hope you are safe as well. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for joining me in our celebration. All week long we'll be doing a celebration of the beautiful cuisine of Mexico. So today's class is, I've been looking forward to today's class quite a lot because it involves, I'm going to teach you guys two different types of really super healthy Mexican style beverages. One beverage is a Mexican hot chocolate. Say no more, you know that's going to be delicious. And the other one that I'm potentially introducing some of you to today is a Mexican style milk cinnamon drink. Obviously our version is dairy free and that drink is called horchata. Now horchata, first time I tried it was in a restaurant, in a Mexican restaurant in Southern California. The first time I tried horchata, and I have literally been hooked ever since. So I'm going to teach you guys how to make a horchata, which is a Mexican cinnamon non-dairy milk drink, really delicious. That's one that's served cold, and then of course that fabulous Mexican hot chocolate. Yay! It's going to be a wonderful episode today. Stick around, please stick around, because I'm going to be sharing with you guys what I believe is going to be an amazing new ingredient for many of us that is a real incredible health hack as well. Massive health benefits in this one brand new ingredient that I'll be sharing with you guys today. So stay around, don't go anywhere. We are going to start with the horchata, which is our milk style cinnamon drink. And I said this is a drink that is served cold. So serve it on ice, or really good for hot weather, all that sort of stuff. And it involves this one particular ingredient to make it that is not essentially traditional Mexican, because this drink was traditionally made using actually rice, would you believe? Yeah, it's made with rice, and they grind up the rice really fine to make like a rice milk. And I kind of looked at that, and I looked at all the carbs that were involved, so I thought I'll do a bit more research to see if we could get a healthier version of the horchata. And what I came across was actually a Spanish version of horchata that didn't use rice and actually used this ingredient called tiger nut. Not sure if any of you guys have heard of tiger nuts before. Here they are here, if you can see them down there, tiger nuts. Now first thing you need to know about tiger nuts is they are not a nut. So right from the start you're like, what the heck's going on? This is not a nut. So if you do have a nut allergy, do not worry. You don't have to turn off your video here. Keep watching, because these are actually, would you believe, these are a small tuber. So it's grown under the ground, like it's like a root, a really tiny little root. But the reason that they're called tiger nuts is, if you have a really close look at that, can you guys see that? Is they're quite stripy, and they're like the stripes of the tiger, hence why they're called tiger nuts. But don't worry, they have no nuts. This is a nut-free, low allergen food. And tiger nuts are also known as a functional food because they have the most incredible health benefits. So I'm going to introduce you to a term that you're probably going to hear me say quite a lot coming up, because I am just blown away by the health benefits. And that term is resistant starch. So tiger nuts are known as a resistant starch. And what that essentially means is that when you consume tiger nuts, and by the way, they taste a little bit sweet. Now these tiger nuts here are peeled, by the way, so you can buy them already pre-peeled. And I got them from Woolworths, which is obviously in Australia. And in fact, I didn't know where I was going to get these tiger nuts from when I first started researching this healthy drink. And so I just let my fingers do the walking, and I jumped onto the internet and I started doing some searches. And I discovered that they're actually available at Woolworths. So Woolworths in Australia do stock tiger nuts. And here's a really cool little feature that Woolworths have that I had no idea that they have. Maybe it's a new feature. But you go online and you put in tiger nuts, Woolworths, and then they come up and they show you how much you can buy this for. I think this is about $7 for a bag. So not the cheapest, but definitely massive health benefits if you want to go down that route. And what Woolworths actually does is they give you a real-time stock levels of your closest Woolworths. So I discovered that the Woolworths that was only a couple kilometers away from my house had them in stock. So I went straight there and I bought them, and that real-time information from Woolworths gets updated every 30 minutes. So you actually get stock levels, real-time stock levels at Woolworths. And I discovered they had tiger nuts. I couldn't find them anywhere else. I even started looking at Amazon. So tiger nuts are available, but you may have to do a bit of research into where you're going to find them. So tiger nuts, as I was saying, they are a resistant starch. And basically what that means is when you eat a tiger nut, it bypasses your stomach. It then bypasses your small intestine, and it's not until it gets into your colon, which is where all your healthy gut bacteria live, that it starts to become digested. So tiger nuts are a soluble fiber, but they're also a prebiotic. And you guys know I love prebiotics because they feed your healthy probiotics. So a resistant starch basically means it resists being digested in your stomach. It then resists being digested in your small intestine, and actually gets digested by your probiotics, your healthy gut bacteria in your colon, which is why they are so incredibly healthy, because they will increase the amount of probiotics in your body because they feed your probiotics. But not only do they do that, they are also, amazingly, that's just one thing. If all these things did was feed your probiotics, for me it would be a no-brainer. I was like, gotta try it, amazing. But they also help with insulin sensitivity. So if you are insulin resistant, these will help to stop you being insulin resistant. So you know what happens when you're insulin resistant, right? You know what happens is that your body stops allowing your fat to be used, your stored fat to be used as energy. That's insulin resistant. But if you're also insulin resistant, and usually if you're pre-diabetic or type 2 diabetic, if you are insulin resistant, not only does your body go, ain't gonna use the fat anymore, but high levels of insulin also means that your body, it helps your body, or it encourages your body to create more fat cells. So this will help with weight loss, it'll help with weight maintenance, it'll help with people who have diabetes, who are pre-diabetic, because it's insulin resistant. And one of the really other cool things, one more before we get going, is this particular resistant starch helps to get rid of the fat around your belly, your abdominal fat, which is the really dangerous fat, because that is usually an indication, if you've got quite a big belly, that's usually an indication that you have a lot of fat around your organs. And it's that visceral fat around your organs that is so incredibly dangerous for us. So get yourself some tiger nuts is all I can say. They are absolutely brilliant. We're going to learn how to make that horchata. Let's do it now. Enough talking. Let's get into the recipes. It is, once you find these, you're gonna love this recipe. And by the way, there's no waste here either. I'm going to show you guys not only how to make the horchata, but we're going to also turn these into flour as well. So there's absolutely zero waste when it comes to this little packet of tiger nuts. So come on down to my bench. Let's get into the recipe. It is pretty simple to do, but it does require a little bit of time. So firstly, as I was saying, these tiger nuts, let me take them out of their little bag, and you can have a really close-up look. Do you see how they're kind of stripy? And these are the unpeeled version, which is the ones that you want to buy. And just look for the tiger stripes on them. Now to taste that, eat that, you can totally eat that just like that. You could throw this in a salad, you could chop them up and put them in your cereal, just like that. As I was saying, they're chewy, they're sweet, which is really mind-blowing, because all they are just, tiger nuts. And they're a little bit earthy. So the first thing you want to do is you want to take up 140 grams. This will give you a litre of horchata, by the way, which is a litre of milk, because that's what we're making first. We're making tiger nut milk. So take 140 grams of your tiger nuts. I apologize, I'm trying to think, it's around about 5 ounces, And then take 1 litre or 2.2 pints of filtered water, and you want to soak your tiger nuts in your water for at least 24 hours. So not even overnight, you want to do it for 24 hours. You want to soak your tiger nuts in filtered water. This is going to help us to be able to extract more of the goodness from them, because they're quite hard when they are dry. And this is also going to help to create the most amazing milk. So after 24 hours, just cover it with a bit of cling film. Leave it on the bench, if you're, unless it's really, really hot where you are, then just pop it in the fridge. But I left this out on the bench overnight, 24 hours. And first thing you'll notice is they do swell up a little bit because they've taken on a bit of the moisture of the water. So this is going to make it really easy, or a lot more easier for us to turn this into now tiger nut milk. And tiger nut milk is delicious. And just think, resistant starch, insulin, sensitivity, goodbye belly fat with this type of milk. So once that's all done, pop that into a blender. I use a high speed blender. I know some of you have a Thermomix, it works really well in there. Pop it into a blender. I've actually got my blender behind me because it's so noisy. Here it is. Oh, you can't even see it. Give me a second. I'm just going to blend what I already have in my blender and show you what the finished results are. So bear with me. It is noisy. Very, very noisy. Here we go. So you're going to want to blend all of this, yeah? You're going to want to blend that for about a minute because you want it to get quite fine. And as you can see, the result there is it is quite a milky looking liquid. So hence why it's known as being tiger milk. So the next thing you want to do once you're at that point where you've blended it really, really well, if you've only got a small blender, just work, do only maybe 250 or a quarter of it at a time because your blender, you don't want to have your blender spilling everywhere. But obviously I've got quite a big one there, so I was able to do the whole lot at the same time. And then taking up, I've just got a really clean, like brand new chucks cloth. Works really well for this. And we're going to strain it because we want to separate the liquid from what is eventually going to become flour. So I'm putting it through my chucks, and I'm also putting it through another strainer as well. And once you have strained all the milk, yes, I got a question.
How much water again?
For 140 grams, which is about 5 ounces of tiger nuts, you're going to soak it in 1 litre of filtered water, 1 litre of filtered water, which is about 2.2 pints of water. And then once you have soaked it overnight, we're going to drain it. You can see it's draining there, the liquid's draining there. And then what I have left in my chucks, this is why I'm using a brand new and a clean one, is I have what we're going to turn into tiger nut flour. As I said, this is a no waste recipe. And apart from that bit that I just squirted onto the bench, Mahi's laughing at me. So give it a bit of a squeeze. That's why I like to use a brand new one. You can use, like there's nut milk bags that people that you can buy, but I actually find that a really clean chucks cloth works just as well. And give it a really good squeeze because you want to extract as much of that wonderful milk as possible from here. Now, if you were to taste this right now, what you would discover is a really sweet, delicious milk. Like seriously, it is so incredibly sweet, even though all we have done is just to blend up the tiger nuts with a little bit of water. It is crazy how much flavor you have in tiger nut milk. And I'm pretty sure some health food stores already sell it milked for you. But look how easy this is. Apart from time that you need to apply, which is going to soak it over for the 24 hours, it's actually really, really easy to make. So we have all that wonderful milk there. It's quite thick too, which is incredible. And now with what I have in here, this is going to become my tiger nut flour. Because look, you don't want to waste that, right? So all I'm going to do now, and it's because I've squeezed it really well, it's actually already starting to dry out. So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to just leave this on this chucks cloth, sort of spread it out so it dries quite evenly. And I've just created tiger nut flour as well. So I'm just going to leave it to dry. Just behind me I've got a little tray that I'm going to sit it on. And tiger nut flour can be used to replace other gluten-free flours in baking, and I definitely suggest you do it. You can add it into pancakes. You can add it into any of my bread recipes or cake recipes. Literally, do not throw that tiger nut away because you have now created flour. And if you've never created flour before, how exciting is it that we just created flour? Isn't it cool? But what we have here is just the most delicious milk, like seriously, the most delicious milk. This would then last if you just wanted to just create tiger nut milk and use it instead of coconut milk or almond milk or rice milk or whatever. This would last in your fridge for at least a week. Just put that into a covered jar or a bottle, and then that goes into the fridge, and you've got tiger nut milk. but we're going to make horchata. So we're going to go a little step further and add some flavors to our tiger nut milk. So I'm actually going to put some in here just because it's going to make less of a mess, and I'll show you why in a second. So I'm going to pour in, so let's just say we're going to do a cup of tiger nut or horchata at a time. So you want a cup of our beautiful milk. Look what I've got left over, I'm so excited. A cup of our beautiful milk. And to make the flavors of horchata, which is our Mexican milk, is we're going to be adding, first thing we're going to add into it is some cinnamon. So you're after, for 1 cup, you're after about half to 3/4 of a teaspoon of cinnamon powder goes in there. And the overwhelming flavor of horchata is the cinnamon, by the way. That's what really gives it that wonderful flavor is from the cinnamon. And the other thing I'm going to add into it is some inulin, some pure as inulin, and I'm going to be adding in a teaspoon, and you don't need too much, a teaspoon and a bit of inulin. Oh gosh, every time I take off the lid it smells like candy floss. It's so nice. And the last thing I want to add in is just a little bit of pure vanilla extract. I'm going to add about half a teaspoon of vanilla into it, and that is it. Those are the ingredients. You have literally once you create the milk, this part is really simple. I have here on the end of my little mixer, this is actually a milk frother. So you could just use a whisk, or you could use, put it back into a blender if you wanted to. But I'm just going to froth it up. This is such a cool milk frother, by the way. Just saying. I know there is a few people that bought one of these recently and you wondered what that is. This is what that is. It's for making horchata. So just give it a bit of a blend. We're just getting some air blended into that. And what we are left with is the most wonderful, obviously you can serve this over ice, the most wonderful cinnamon-laced, tiger nut resistant starch drink possible. It is gorgeous. So that is drink number 1, and look how much froth you get off it. It's almost like a cappuccino. How cool is that? So that is drink number 1. This is the horchata. Remember the tiger nuts. If you haven't already started Googling tiger nuts, I'll be very surprised, but they are, like I said, resistant starch, absolutely amazing. But the next one that we're going to do is Mexican hot chocolate. And I actually created this recipe because of a wee friend that I have who likes to watch my videos. His name is Deegan. Deegan's gonna be 5 years old in November. And Deegan loves watching my videos, and he loves eating all the healthy treats that his mum is creating for him. So Deegan, this recipe is for you. Hot chocolate. Just in case mum wants to make you a little hot chocolate, go for it, mum. This is for Deegan. So hot chocolate and Mexican style, we're going to go with the cinnamon again because that's obviously a very important ingredient in Mexican cooking. But I'm also going to be adding a pinch of chili. You could leave it out for Deegan, mum. You don't have to put it in Deegan's, but for us grown-ups, a little bit of chili is going to really balance it out nicely. So I'm making enough hot chocolate here as a mix so that you guys can actually store it away in the cupboard and make hot chocolate whenever you want to. So first thing you need to do, grab yourself up one of these wonderful little blenders. I have in here 100 grams of really dark, you can see that, dark chocolate chips. And the secret to this hot chocolate is making sure that you're using as dark a chocolate as you can get, because the darker the chocolate, the more health benefits, so the more polyphenols that are in here. And as we know from one of our last videos earlier on in the week, how amazing polyphenols are for us. So they're an antioxidant, they help with digestion, they help with weight management, blood sugar, and yes, I'm talking about chocolate. Can you use it? Really? Chocolate helps with like weight management? Yes, it does. So 100 grams of chocolate, and by the way, I've had this chocolate frozen down in the fridge. I put this in the freezer, for 10 minutes, just to make it a little bit hard. It's going to make it easier for me to blend up. So 100 grams, 3.5 ounces of the darkest sugar-free chocolate you can get your hands on. Freeze for 10 minutes in the freezer, obviously. And the next thing, we're going to add even more polyphenols to our mix, and that. So, the next polyphenols I'm going to be adding is raw cacao. So raw cacao powder, which is lovely and bitter, sort of a powder, and of course really high in polyphenols. So I'm going to be adding into the chocolate 50 grams of raw cacao, which is about 1.7 ounces of raw cacao, which is that wonderful, bittersweet, pure, this is basically pure chocolate before anything's been added to it. So that goes in there, 50 grams of that. And as well as the cacao, we need to make sure that we sweeten it up a little bit, because it needs to be a little bit sweet. And the way that I'm going to do that is with zero as sugar, the pure erythritol. So into our blender, everything goes in the blender. I'm going to be adding in 100 grams of erythritol, is going in there. That's going to help to make it more palatable. Also, just add that bit of sweetness. But as you guys know, erythritol has 0 calories. It won't spike your insulin or raise your blood glucose. It has 0 laxative effect. And this is one of the reasons why I like using erythritol for kids, is that it also helps to prevent cavities. So this particular ingredient will help prevent cavities. So it's good for your oral health, but at the same time it's going to sweeten it, so kids are going to not think they're missing out on anything, which is absolutely fabulous. So yes, I've got another question from Mahei.
Couple questions. Where do you source your chocolate from, and is it dairy free?
Okay, where do I source my chocolate from? So that's my chocolate chips. I source my chocolate chips online, and I buy them in bulk, 1 kilo bags. I think the name of the company is Keto Wellness. And yes, they're not only dairy-free, this is vegan chocolate as well. So it's dairy-free, gluten-free, and sugar-free chocolate. So the next ingredient I'm adding into my blender is going to help to give it a wonderful mouthfeel, make it quite smooth as well. And that is 1 tablespoon of tapioca starch. So 1 tablespoon of tapioca goes in there. So of course this is still gluten-free. I'm also going to add in, why not, a pinch of salt. We're going to help to balance up the flavors. Pinch of salt goes in there. Let's go back to our cinnamon. And for cinnamon, because remember this is a big mix that we're making, I'm going to add in a tablespoon of cinnamon powder goes in there. Now this is the optional extra for anyone who likes to have it a little bit of a spicy balance kick. You can add chili powder or chili flakes into your chocolate mix as well, just for a bit of excitement, or not. You don't have to add the chili. I'm adding about probably 3/4 teaspoon of chili, but that's up to you. I will totally leave that up to you. So that's the mix basically done. That's all there is to it. Easy, right? I'm gonna go back to this little guy here and give it a bit of a blend. And the real secret here in making this hot chocolate mix is definitely that cinnamon, and that combination of the erythritol as well means that it's lovely and palatable. So give it a bit of a blend. And what you want to do as you're blending it is you want to listen to the sound. And at the moment it's quite chunky, so I know it's quite thick. I want to wait till there's more of a powder in there. So give it a bit of a blend. And listen as it changes, the sound changes from being very grainy to being almost smooth and powder-like. I'm hearing it begin to change now. So depending on the power of your blender, your food processor will determine how long it takes. It's about 30 seconds for my one. And what we are left with is a very, very fine, like Milo-like powder. And that is our mix done. So this will now, you can now store this in a airtight jar in the cupboard next to the coffee. You've now just made your hot chocolate mix, right? Isn't it brilliant? I know, it's so good. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do, I'm going to turn on my jug because I want hot water. The next thing that we're going to do is think about combining this to actually make a drink, which is the exciting part. I'm going to go back to my little jug here because I'm going to froth this up as well. And I find that with a cup of hot or boiling water, I'm adding about 2 tablespoons of the mix into about a cup of, which is about 220 mils, somewhere around there, just a normal cup of boiling water. All right, so about that much. Maybe a little bit more for luck. Just fill up your cup. I'm gonna top it off. I'm using a little bit of coconut milk here. There is nothing stopping you as well from using tiger nut milk. Why not? But I quite like the taste of coconut and chocolate. So I'm gonna be adding just a couple of tablespoons of coconut milk, and then back to my little frother. You could once again put this into a blender, you know, a NutriBullet or whatever, and give it a bit of a blend. The other really, I suppose, it's not so much a secret because I'm telling you, but the other secret to making a Mexican style hot chocolate is actually in this action that I'm doing now, which is the frothing. Because as we're incorporating air into it, we're making it very light and we're making the mouth feel just, oh, phenomenal. So don't be shy about giving it a bit of a blend because you want those bubbles. See those bubbles that are on top? And then it's just a matter of pouring it into your cup, making sure we get that wonderful froth at the top. You've just made yourself a lovely cappuccino. Well, a hot chocolate, Mexican style hot chocolate. Come up here, it's time to taste. Oh, I'm excited. So look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? Isn't that gorgeous? And it's so warming. Fabulous, fabulous taste. You know, it's something that, you know, I could have even added more chili if I wanted to be completely honest. But you can also, if you like it to be a little bit more cinnamony, you can top it with a little bit of cinnamon powder, a couple of little chili flakes, don't hurt as well. And what you have there is the most wonderful Mexican style hot chocolate. And of course you have this much mix here to keep in a jar next to your coffee or your tea whenever you feel the need for a little hot chocolate. But of course, let's be reminded of this wonderful, give it a bit of a stir. Look, the froth is still there on top. This wonderful horchata, which is our cinnamon milk drink. Oh, I don't know, it's really tough. Like, this is good, but I think I prefer this one. I don't know. I mean, that's completely personal preference. Let me tell you, they both are amazing. They're both completely different, of course. But there is something about this. The cinnamon comes through really well. And I just think this is very grown up. Like very, you know, like quite fancy. This is quite a fancy drink, but it's not really that fancy because it's literally just tiger nuts, you know, made into a milk. And then you get all that wonderful flour that you can throw into your baking and put into your bread recipes that are going to be amazing for you because, of course, what is beautiful about tiger nuts is that, remember, they are a resistant starch. So they are a prebiotic, they are a soluble fiber, they will feed your healthy gut bacteria, they will help make you insulin sensitive so you can use fat as energy, they will help to melt the fat around your belly if you've got belly fat that you want to move. It's ridiculous, right? Plus it tastes really good because it's lovely and sweet. So I hope you've enjoyed today. I have enjoyed so much our Mexican week. We made chicken mole, which is our chocolate and chicken stew, and then I taught you guys how to make cauliflower tortilla to make a chicken mole taco, which I know some of you have been making and loving. We made a couple of different salsas, and now we have our Mexican hot chocolate for my friend Deegan and this amazing Mexican style horchata cinnamon milk drink, which is just incredible. So I hope you've enjoyed that. I've enjoyed it lots and lots and lots. Next week, all week here in Bridget's Healthy Kitchen, we're going to be celebrating the launch of my new cookbook, Eat Your Way Slim and Healthy, goes live around the world Tuesday next week. Next Tuesday, just a couple of days to go. So we're going to celebrate all week that this book has now finally been made available. If you pre-ordered it, expect your copy to turn up very, very soon. And we're going to have some fun with that cookbook and cook some recipes straight out of that book. So I look forward to seeing you next week. In the meantime, stay safe, stay well, enjoy the hot chocolate, enjoy the horchata, and just enjoy all the delicious food that's so incredibly good for our body. So we'll talk to you guys soon. Take care, have a spectacular day, and be well and be safe. Bye.